afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Developer Show. This is a program where we showcase up-and-coming developments, talk investments, and show you how you can find yourself living in the heart of Sandton. Behind me you see Wedgewood, which is Balwin's latest offering into the market. So follow me while we go inside and show you how you can find yourself living in this absolutely exclusive property. We're going to speak to the guys, we're going to get you some real solid advice, and I think you're going to find this whole episode very exciting. Let's go. Good afternoon and welcome to the latest episode of the Developer Show. Today we are sitting in Sandton and we have got a very special guest who is Stefan, who is the Director of Reinmaker Marketing. My name is Chad and I'll be your host. And Stefan, thank you so much for taking some time out on this very busy day, it looks like, judging by the cars in the parking lot, to have this interview with me.
No, thanks Chad, thanks for being here. I mean, it's a hell of an exciting day for us. We're saying it's probably the most anticipated residential launch the country's seen. And today, the guys have queued through the night for the release of Wedgewood Sandton, which is happening today at 8 o'clock. So I think we've got 45 minutes to go and yeah, really pumped that you guys are here.
And we're starting. So, like you'd mentioned, Wedgewood Sandton, that's the development of the hour. But what I'd like to start off with is a question I tend to ask all of the guys on the show, and that is, can you introduce us to yourself, introduce us to your team, and also what a client can expect if they decide to go down this journey with Reinmaker Media?
Yeah, sure. So I think a bit of context. So, I mean, behind you, which you'll probably see during the course of, there's a fully integrated team here, which is, people have arrived for the day. The big demand has been in terms of price points. So there's price points that have never been seen in Sandton before. And I think the whole process here is the fact that guys have had the ability to qualify themselves for their bond. We've had over 450 people who've actually been pre-qualified through Mortgage Market, who are the mortgage origination partners. I think you're going to chat to Tim at some stage. And then the whole idea is to get people here on a first-come, first-served basis and get them through. We've got a whole interactive element, and people have the ability to purchase online. So I think we'll see a hybrid between people purchasing online and virtually, and a huge influx of people who expect here today. And then done pretty smoothly in terms of, from that, in terms of your mortgage application, your 10,000 rand deposit, which is quite unique to Balwin in terms of, especially in a product in Sandton, and then how all the transfer costs, etc., are included into your purchase price. There's a whole integrated system, which is something that Balwin have rolled out really successfully.
I mean, what you guys have done here today is absolutely incredible. But let's talk about Wedgewood Sandton. I mean, when I say Sandton, I'm not talking about four-way Sandton or we are close to Sandton. We are literally standing in Sandton. There's a beautiful view of the Leonardo from the site, and Sandton City is just around the corner from us, within easy walking distance, strolling distance. We could probably have this conversation on the way there.
No.
So tell me a bit about Wedgewood and what a client can expect if they decide to purchase within Wedgewood.
Okay, so I think the biggest thing, we as marketers, we always use the term Sandton very loosely. Sandton can be 20 Ks on either side, and this, it's really unique. I know when Steve Brooks came to us from Balwin and said, listen, we sort of say, it's like, can it really be that you can be within 200 meters of the Hout chain and literally right next, I mean, as you guys know, the Radisson, the corner, Old Mutual across the road. So I think Balwin's got a very unique element in terms of they have the ability to bring in price points that no one else can bring in. I think it's got a lot to do with scale. It's a huge development. It's probably the biggest sectoral type development that's been launched in the country's history, 1,348 apartments. And we're light architects who are internationally award-winning architects who've done a lot of stuff with Balwin before. They've been genius in terms of how they've created a product where they've created small living spaces which are economically done, and to try and get into the right price point. I think we started 27,000 rand a square, where I think most developments in Sandton are starting at 45 to 50,000 rand a square. And it's done because of that, and then supersizing with facilities, starting with your motherland coffee in terms of how their structure is going to work, all the way through to your co-working spaces, to your restaurants, to your recreational pool areas. And then they've stepped up all the recreational areas step by step. So they've got their outdoor cinema, they've got their six-a-side soccer pitches, they've got their, it's a whole new way of living. And to bring that into Sandton, I think the whole passion behind this product has been, how do you allow more people from outside areas to have the ability to own within Sandton? I think that's where there's such a big thing today, that the first unit, the 38 units from 799 are only reserved for people who are going to be living here permanently, that haven't been opened up to investors, and the whole big massive thing. I know Euphonic, for example, who many of you will know, he's a brand ambassador for, and his whole thing the whole time is, how do you allow more people to own property, understand the property purchasing process, is why we try to integrate everything, and to get them into prime locations. And it's not more prime than this.
Absolutely.
So and we've had almost 4,000 inquiries to date. It's been going ballistic, and we really are expecting to break a record today, which is very exciting for the property market as a whole, especially considering that there's so much other factors around the economy and all the rest. So it's really exciting for the market as a whole.
You know, it's something we speak about often on the developer show is how do you know the development you're purchasing into? Because you're making such a big purchase, and you know, this is going to be next 20 years for you. It's a massive relationship. How do you know you're purchasing quality? And with Balwin, they've got a history of providing quality developments. And with this development specifically, how have you managed to get that price point that you're offering it for? So let me actually phrase it like this. What unit types have you got available? And what are the price points they're going for?
Yeah, so there's a combination. So what's quite interesting is that 70% of the units within the entire development are under 1.2 million, 40% are under 1 million, and that in itself is pretty unique. So there's a huge combination of these units are studios. There are a couple of different combinations of studios, and yes, those are small compact spaces, but Life have done a really good job in terms of how they've created those spaces and privacy. Each one's got balconies, which is really important. And then it goes up 19 stories in the building. So people have got the ability to either face north, east, south, and west. So those studios start from 799,000 Rand. And I think with interest rates being as low as they are currently, those bond repayments start at about 6,100, I think, 20. So our whole marketing is how do you own Sandton from 6120. And then there are one beds which start from 999, and then the two beds go up from about 1.5 upwards. And obviously the higher you go in the building. And it's quite unique. I mean, from the 8th floor up, you're going to have uninterrupted views over Sandton, which will never change base. So it's pretty exciting. I think that's all done based on scale. And I think the big thing is what's included. So what's quite unique is all your smeg appliances are included, down to your microwave and all the rest, which at this price point is unheard of. And then the biggest thing from an investment perspective, I always say, is look at certain things. Who's the developer? What are your barriers to entry in terms of what's your deposit amount? And for us, that 10,000 Rand deposit is a huge thing. You're not paying a 10% deposit, which is often the case. And then looking at your cost prior to purchase. So the big thing here is that if you go through mortgage market, you get all your transfer and bond registration costs included, which is a huge thing. That probably saves you about another 25,000 Rand. And then because you're buying off plan, there's no transfer duty. So there are a lot of those that would add on in elements. In Balwin, I've got a green bond a structure where you get between 0.25 and 0.5% of your bond. So when you stack all of those things together, I know a lot of guys here talking about a unicorn product, but it is very unique. And I think that's why the demand has been off the charts, just because I think people understand this kind of thing won't come around again.
No, I absolutely agree with you in you saying it's unique because like you've mentioned, the pricing is so good and you're here in Sandton and tying that in with where the interest rate is, there's absolutely no way first-time home buyers and the people you've marketed this product to aren't going to make a brilliant investment through the course of it. Tell me, what other amenities? We've got Wedgewood right there in the back. It looks beautiful. What other amenities can people expect if they decide to purchase in Wedgewood?
Within the building itself? Yeah, so I think, obviously they've done a big thing in terms of, I don't know if you know the brand Training Science, but Training Science is, we're not calling it a gym because it's almost like a new age way of the thing. So it's everything there from your high performance stuff, your normal gym, your personal training, your ice bars, all that kind of stuff. That's a huge component of the space. So that's on the ground floor with the pool and the recreational areas. Lots of bike access routes, etc., etc. We've done a partnership with guys called Park Up, and Park Up are next level in terms of how they've created a flexible parking solution app where you have the ability to be able to utilize parkings within the building, but also in surrounding areas and for visitors and all that, which is really quite unique in itself. And then as you go up in terms of flexible workspaces, there's a huge sort of central work area with workspaces and conferencing rooms and all the rest. And then you've got your pool, your soccer, your outdoor cinema, your recreational areas.
It looks like there's a soccer pitch right on the roof there.
There's a soccer pitch right on the roof. So a soccer pitch, and then the outdoor cinema above that. There's a massive outdoor chess area, and then the steps up into different chill row zones and relaxation zones. So I mean the architects. Can never give them too much credit because they always enjoy their work so much, but guys have done an incredible job in terms of how they structured it.
I think if you're living in a house with a soccer pitch on the roof, you are living in an apartment where that's the epitome of cool.
No, absolutely. And I think where the big thing is here is you're going to have your first-time buyers, or your guys who just want to live in Sandton. There's a huge opportunity there. And then naturally you're going to see the investor market is going to be a huge thing. And then there's going to be the huge component of a building of this side is the rental management solution, making sure that is all controlled, whether it be short-term or long-term. And the rental yield is a huge thing from an investor perspective. So we are projecting that pretty much all the unit types should be cash flow positive from year one, based on the fact that if you take into account what your bond repayments are versus what the rental income that our research team have projected, versus the very low levies, which is also a huge component. The levies here are 16 Rand a square meter, where probably anywhere else in Sandton, you're probably looking for about 30 Rand a square meter. So on a studio, you're paying about 450 Rand a month in levies. So, and I think that's a huge component. So those facilities are so core to making sure that whether it's a short-term or long-term let, or whether it's a permanent residence, that it's all catered for. Down to all the bike stations, the motorbike stations, there's a whole host of different things that come into it.
If you move into Wedgewood, it seems like you'll never need to leave, I'd say about a couple of 100 meters around the apartment.
I think that was the vision, and I think there's obviously, I think it is revolutionary in its time, in terms of you need a developer who's bold enough to be able to put something like this together. And where we see a huge amount of this is if you look at a huge component of the target market, which is coming from outlying areas. We did a huge sort of market research survey beforehand in terms of where a lot of those guys who want to live here currently live and where they work. And a huge amount of the people are living outside of Sandton, but 35% are working inside Sandton. And if you start taking the ability to be able to save on things like travel, even when it comes to, in future, I believe guys will Uber and do various different things. It will save costs. And when you start doing that and understanding what this can offer to the property market as a whole and to people who want to get into market, it's massive. And I think there's a far greater impact to to this country as a whole when guys are having the vision and the guts to pull something like this off.
I was going to say, I think this is the only development that brings real New York living to Gauteng, where you don't need a car because you could possibly work just up the road. I mean, your shopping centers are right here. You've got your gym in the house. You've got your workspace in the house.
Yeah.
You've got your activities in the house, a movie center in the house. I mean, you can have date nights on the roof.
I know.
So there's no real reason to leave. And I think that brings that real beauty and the romance of living in New York right here in Gauteng.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just the design itself. I mean, we're obviously standing next to the model. I mean, we've got Gauteng right here, and we've got our mutual cross road. But just the down to vertical landscaping, it's a green building, so it's EDGE certified, which is why you actually get a saving on your bond. And that's also like, how do you bring down your carbon footprint? How do you? This concept was inspired, and credit to Steve Brooks and credit to the architects in terms of stuff that's happening in New York, London, the leading destinations of the world, where this whole micro living, I wouldn't call it micro living, but this whole lifestyle apartment style has really sort of taken off. The guys are just supersized facilities in the building, which you can do through scale, and you can do it through creating buildings of pretty much big magnitude.
So you guys are breaking ground here. We've just arrived on the site. I can see the car park is filling up.
Yeah, it is actually filling. I'm just actually looking over your shoulder. There's cars streaming in at the moment, which is great.
So tell me, when somebody arrives here to come speak to you guys, I believe your sales officers are going to be here after this. What do they need to keep in mind when viewing this area? And also, what type, or this let our viewers know, when is this going to be completed? When can they expect to move in if they decide to come here and say to you, Stefan, I love this, I want to purchase? When can they expect to move in?
So, and I think that's a big thing. So where it is unique is that we do expect to break sales records today in terms of the level of interest and so forth, which means that Balwin are going to be in position to break ground in March, which is pretty unheard of for a development of this scale. And then they've got a 24-month completion, which is also pretty unheard of. They've got the ability to get things done pretty quickly. So the first guys will be in here 28th of Feb 2023, which is just under 2.5 years from where we are now. The benefit to that is the off-plan capital appreciation. Guys are paying 10,000 Rand now. No cost between now and then. They just need to get their bond in place to mortgage market or provide a cash guarantee. And then they're going to see the capital appreciation. I think we all know that capital appreciation at this price is it's hard. You never want to predict too much, but I think that's where the guys are going to see a huge opportunity. And that's always the benefit of buying off plan. So this sales office is going to be here until pretty much we break ground, which is the next 3 or 4 months. So we obviously encourage guys to come in here. The address, you can't miss it. You literally walk down Rivonia Road and there's 100 meters of hoarding that takes you in here. And this setup we've created here is going to be where the home of Wedge is going to be until the first spade goes into the ground. So it's exciting, it's exciting, and it's exciting times.
Well, Stefan, Botha,
thanks very much. Thanks very much.
Reinmaker
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys making the time to be here, and we look forward to keeping you guys updated. It's an exciting journey ahead.
Looking forward to it as well. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Finally, Balwin Properties welcomes you to the heart of Sandton. to bring you our first high-rise apartment development, Wedgewood. Reimagine cosmopolitan living in Africa's richest square mile. Reinvent your lifestyle from only 799,000 Rand. Go to wedgwoodsandton.co.za.
Welcome back to the Developer Show. My name is Chad and I'll be your host. And today we are joined by Tim Akinnusi, who is the CEO of Mortgage Market. Tim, thank you so much for taking some time out to join us.
Yeah, good to be with you, Chad.
I had a very interesting with Stefan, and I thought we'd now sit down with you.
Awesome.
So could you tell our viewers what Mortgage Market is and what kind of role it plays in the development of Wedgewood and in the sales of Wedgewood as well?
Sure. So quite simply, Mortgage Market is a platform that allows customers to go directly to all of the banks in the country to get a home loan. They'll be able to compare home loans literally from the comfort of wherever they are, with the greatest of transparency. They'll get all the choice. We will guide them through the whole process and negotiate the best deal for them. And that's what the platform is. It's a new technology. It's never been done in South Africa, but we're pretty much a marketplace that's independent, where you can get all your home loans in a matter of 20 minutes. Yeah. We also have a really great tool. That's our pre-approval tool, which allows you to get a pre-approval within 2 minutes to understand exactly what the banks are likely to give you. That allows you to then go out and shop with confidence. And in the case of Wedgewood, we expect people to do a pre-approval fairly quickly to then understand exactly what property at what price range that they can buy in this development. Yeah.
Working within the industry for such a long time, I'm sure you've seen customers come in and say, look, I've spoken to my bank and this is what they've offered me. Why is it so important to apply to all the banks and not just one and run through a mortgage originator like yourself?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is that you can never really say you've gotten the best deal when you only have one bank, right? You need to be able to compare apples to apples. That's when you know you're getting the best deal. So what we do is that we actually go to the same banks, right? And that then allows you to be able to make sure that you're getting the best deal. You will know for sure because you're seeing the entire suite of all the banks. So with our platform, we already work with all the banks, so we will go to the banks on your behalf, and you just need to sit back, make a choice, knowing that there's the greatest of transparency and that you're empowered to know that you're getting the best deal for the entire journey.
And for customers interested in purchasing within Wedgewood, if they decide to arrive here or if they can do it over the phone, how do they get in touch with your services?
So we have QR codes on our platform. They can go onto wedgwoodsandton.co.za, and of course come out here, because here is where you actually get the full experience of what Wedgewood is about. You will get to choose all the units. You'll get to be spoken through what to expect in the next 2 years until the development actually comes on stream. And you can reach us on our website, mortgagemarket.co.za, and we'll be able to share with you any information you have about the entire buying journey, and most importantly, why this development and not anywhere else.
Yeah. So me and Stefan spoke at, I'd say at length about why Wedgewood is such a good investment opportunity. Could you go from the financial perspective and expand on why it is a good investment opportunity, and just touch on not only the capital gains, but on the initial costs that a customer has to lay down to start off with?
Yeah. So for first-time home buyers, buying in a development is a perfect way to break into the market, because all of your costs are included. So using our platform, when we go to the banks, you actually don't pay any transfer duties, you don't pay any registration costs. All of that is handled through us. The most important thing is that when you're buying a development like Wedgewood, you're not just buying in Sandton, which is obviously the richest square mile in Africa, but you're also buying a development that has all of the amenities, right? So you have a soccer pitch on top, you've got Motherland Coffee that's coming, you've got a state-of-the-art gym facility, you've got co-working spaces, and you're right on the doorstep of all the schools, the major corporates, and Sandton City. So all of those amenities is what's going to give this property its true intrinsic value. That's what's going to make sure that your investment will continue to grow into the future. Scarcity is the name of the game. A piece of land like this in Sandton you will never find. So that literally means at this price point, this is the lowest price point that you will get into a property sector within Sandton. And that's what makes this a true unicorn in terms of property investment.
I like that term, unicorn.
Yeah.
So for customers tuning in, what costs do they need to look at if they decide to purchase into Wedgewood? Obviously, there's a price of what unit they choose, but what other costs do they need to just budget for? And also, let's talk a bit about transfer duty. I think so many customers like to tune in and they hear developments are great because you don't have to pay that transfer duty. You're saving such a large amount of money that can potentially go to the bond later on. So what is transfer duty and why don't you have to pay it for developments?
Okay. So in this case, the transfer duty is a tax that the government levies. So basically, you will, for any development, you actually won't pay any transfer duties for a property that's below $1 million. But you will be paying transfer costs and the bond registration costs. We absorb that as part of the development team so that you don't have to pay that, right? The other thing is that you will come here, obviously pay 10,000 Rand to secure the unit, and what we'll then do is that we will go to the banks on your behalf and get the bond in place. Now that's critical because your bond will be in place. You don't have to service that facility until the unit is actually built in 2023, and you don't then have to be involved in any other costs except repaying your bond, and then of course there's the levies. There's the levies, the rates and taxes. This is probably going to attract a levy cost of about under 500 Rand a month, which is the lowest that we've ever seen. I'm sure Stefan spoke to you about the per unit cost. This is about 26,000 per square meter. Majority of other places around the same area, within 100 meters, are going for 60 to 80,000 square meter. So value for money wise, this is never going to be repeated anywhere else again. I would say to customers, after they've made their purchase, keep your credit profile clean and save up. Because by the time the unit is actually built, you want to be able to put more money into your bond in the form of an access bond facility. And that's a great thing for you when just getting some equity into the bond very early on.
That's also something I wanted to talk about, in that when customers are purchasing, they don't have that transfer duty. But tell me, what else is a selling point for customers looking to purchase into a development, and specifically this development? If they watch the show and they say, you know, Wedgewood sounds great, they can leverage your services, so they don't need to be nervous about possibly finding a bond. But maybe they've also seen that house on private property that they really like. Why go for this development over another house somewhere?
So somebody gave me some good advice the other day, and he said it's always best to buy the cheapest house in the best area versus going to buy the most expensive house in the worst area. So the trend is your friend over here, because when you're buying in here, you're getting in at a price point that will never be repeated again. So your property can only appreciate in value, right? And I'm pretty sure that by the time Wedgewood is completely built in 2023, the property value would have increased significantly as well. So you already get some capital appreciation, which is a great thing for investors. So first-time home buyers as well as investors, this is the investment for 2020 that you want to get into.
So if I'm correct in saying this, essentially I'm going to sit down here and I'm going to possibly purchase a home in Wedgewood, and all I need to lay down initially is a 10,000 Rand deposit.
And secure a bond.
And secure a bond. Yeah. And from there, I'm immediately getting the benefit of that capital gain while the development's being built. But I'm also not paying anything on my bond until the development is completed. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's a win-win for you. Like I said, all you would need to do is obviously be able to afford the bond now and start saving. Because by the time you need to be committed to the repayment, you no longer have to worry about a deposit that you would have already saved up enough money to put into the bond. So visit us, come through, you will get to know about the entire journey, what to expect in this whole process, and over the next 2 years as well.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Tim McKinney, the CEO of Mortgage Market. Tim, thank you so much for lending us some of your expertise. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks, Shad.
Awesome.
Finally, Balwin Properties welcomes you to the heart of Sandton to bring you our first high-rise apartment development, Wedgewood.
We just get one love.
Reimagine cosmopolitan living in Africa's richest square mile. Reinvent your lifestyle from only 799,000 Rand. Go to wedgewoodsandton.co.za.